to take cyclists all the way back to where we started, meditation, yoga meditation, psychotherapy, um, psychedelics, these are all, it seems like, tools for getting to that point of like, oh, I'm in this Chinese finger trap. Okay, let's relax out of it. Like these seem like tools for um, either getting to what's the strategy or letting go of the strategy to take
Yeah.
that step of, oh my gosh, let's see what happens if I stop the strategy.
So first of all, see how our language already gets us caught in that strategy. So you're saying getting to,
Yeah.
and so it's always implied in how we approach the world in our language, as though now a new strategy to get to
Yeah.
this. So there's no, we got to understand, have to understand there's no place to get to that and you said something about it's such a shift that some spiritual traditions say you have to go through all these other practices, learning to improve your attention, and doing prostrations in the Buddhist tradition, or doing mantra meditation, or doing this and this, and it's only after you've practiced for years and years that you're ready for what this easy path, or this easy way, not a path. This it's called the direct way, and so a lot of teachers would say you're not ready for that. It's sort of like in the Zen tradition, you're given a Zen koan,
Mm-hmm.
and you work and work, and you go to your teacher and try to answer this puzzle that the teacher gives you, and only when you give up that you're ready to go to the next level or receive the teachings. And so, as long as a person is still has some belief that they can do it, or they can reach this, that if they just work harder and they do it right, or they have the right strategy, as long as they're caught up in that, they're not ready for this very simple way of just to let go. It involves a letting go of all that we're caught up in, and letting go of thinking there's anywhere to get to. I don't believe that's necessarily true. I think we can explore this direct way more directly, more immediately, rather than having to struggle so much. But you'll see again and again the different metaphors, the different teachers say one goes on a. I remember my first spiritual teacher, Chogyam Trungpa, talked about going on this long, arduous path and finally coming back to a place where one opens to the moment and realizes it's where he started in the first place. Um, so there's a simplicity about this. Like there's really nothing to do, and we're so used to doing that it's like, what? How? It's so strange to us. And so there's some getting more and more familiar with not doing. And then another question arises. So what if I'm not efforting? What if I'm not struggling and I'm not just doing? What do I just sit there and look at my navel, or um, I'm just going to withdraw from the world and not be involved? That's an assumption I think some people make. And that's not correct. That's not what really happens. What happens is, instead of acting from need and from not having enough, you begin to feel this completeness inside, this joy inside, this abundance, and you act in the world from that rather than trying to get something. One becomes more generous in their actions, not acting any less, but acting in a way that's personally more fulfilling, and more fulfilling for others.
That's my experience as well. I would say that your proclamation of that slow path being unnecessary and simply being able to use the direct path to go there, uh, that would appear to me to strike at a lot of the architecture of many of the traditions, and especially some of these Buddhist and yoga traditions have very ornate architectures to reality or the path of an acolyte. Like there's a lot of structure there. There's a lot of element. If someone goes in to study these traditions, there's a lot to study. Like a single person could barely do it uh, in a decade. Like there's a lot going on.
Mhm.
So this idea of the direct path seems like a lot of that is kind of a waste. Like what were people doing for thousands of years putting these traditions together? That's um, that's quite a proclamation, it would seem.
Yeah, and I don't know for sure that that's true. That's just my approach, my experience in this lifetime. And I think some of these, the Tibetan tradition, for example, some of these, um, not so much necessarily the practices, but the understanding of levels of consciousness. Um, what I'm talking about, I think, is leading us to a certain a mode of consciousness, and it's not necessarily the end mode or the end point of our evolution. It's a it's a an awakening to a mode of consciousness, but there may be still more levels and modes of consciousness. I believe not maybe, but I believe there are. So I don't want to be quick to sort of disparage some of these uh, complex understandings and approaches. I think what's needed is in Buddhism, this what's one of the Buddhas has the sword of discrimination to understand what is of value and what are belief systems or what kinds of practices have come up that serve other purposes, like the making the teacher important or whatever it might be. So I think there's a lot of value in some of the subtle understandings.